Welcome to CWC Podcast, where leadership, culture and real-life lessons collide. I'm Chris Campbell, a former military leader turned business mentor and business project manager. I'm here to share stories, strategies and simple tools that'll help gain your edge. No fluff, no jargon, just practical conversations to help you grow. Let's dive straight in. Welcome back to CWC Edge Podcast. I'm Chris Campbell, and today we're exploring another few skills you can develop in business, leadership and life. Influence and communication. Because here's the truth. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't communicate that clearly, nobody is going to follow you. You can have the strongest values, but if you can't influence others, nothing changes. Communication is the bridge between intention and impact. Influence is the force that gets people to act. I've seen this across every level. CEOs who need it to inspire a workforce through change, SME owners pitching to clients, council members speaking to communities, graduates trying to impress in their interviews, and of course service leavers trying to translate their skills into civilian language. The common thread: success dependent not just on what they knew, but how they communicated it. So in this episode, we'll break down the art of influence and communication. We'll explore why people listen, the mistake leaders make, and practical tools you can use to make sure your message isn't just heard, but it's acted upon. And by the end, we'll be equipped with some strategies that will help you influence with clarity and confidence and authenticity. So let's get clear. Influence is not manipulation. It's not tricking people into doing things. Influence is about alignment. It's about aligning your message with people's values or their goals and their needs. It's about making the path forward clear and attractive so people want to follow. Not because they're forced to, but because they believe in it. I once known this individual who was a leader and thought that influence was about winning arguments. They bulldozed through discussions. It was when I was in the military. It backfired massively. Once they shifted to starting to listen first and understanding values and framing proposals in terms of what mattered to others, guess what? Suddenly people leaned in. Suddenly that influence isn't about being louder anymore. It's about being more aligned with his people at the time. So why do so many smart people, very clever people, fail to influence? Well, three barriers show up again and again. Complexity. They overcomplicate messaging. Ego. They focus on sounding that, ooh, look at me, I'm so smart, rather than just trying to be understood. And disconnection. They speak in their own language. They may be educated to master's level and they may have been brought up a really good way, but some of their listeners aren't brought up that way. Some of our listeners are just normal, down to earth, easygoing men and women going into work for a day's work. They don't want to be listened to master degree level language. A young graduate I mentored, not the one I usually talk about, he kept losing interviews and he just couldn't grasp why. But when people were asking him, employers were asking them questions, the answers were just full of jargon from their education days. It didn't connect with employers at all. Once they started explaining the skills in plain, relatable terms, teamwork, problem solving, resilience, the offers came. He had 2 offers and he took the second offer that he got. He's now employed successfully, which is nice. But what's the lesson there? It's not about what you know. It's not about spouting off academia. It's about what the people in front of you will understand. So how do you build influence? And this isn't about becoming an influencer, by the way. It's how do you build influence in conversations. Here's 5 principles I teach across my mentoring circle with counsellors and with sporting members and obviously looking at business members. 1, clarity. People follow what they understand. Simplify your message. 2, credibility. Influence requires trust. If nobody trusts you, you ain't going to influence them. Be consistent. Back up your words with actions. 3, connection. People buy into people before they buy into ideas. Build that rapport. 4, conviction. Speak with belief. If you don't sound convincing, they won't believe you. And 5, call to action. Don't just inspire or try to inspire people. Make the next step very clear. When I coached a small business owner to pitch to several investors, we followed 3 key principles. They didn't just talk about the numbers and the return of investment. They connected with their values. They told stories. Their whole pitch was a story, which has absolutely blown me away. I hope we can use it in future episodes to read out to you. But he spoke with conviction And then at the end, they give that clear call to action. Guess what the result was? The investment was secured. The influence was there. He won. One of the most powerful tools in influence is storytelling. Facts inform people, but stories inspire people. A CEO can share data about growth. A managing director can share data about growth. But when they tell a story about how their work impacted a customer's life, people connected emotionally. A grassroots football coach can explain tactics all day long. But when they tell a story about how that drill led to a winning goal the week after, kids listen. They listen differently. Stories turn abstracts into real life methods. The next time you need to influence somebody, ask yourself, what story can I tell that makes this point human and memorable? Because people forget numbers, but people remember stories. Let's talk about delivery. Influence isn't just in what you say. It's about how you say it. And use your voice. Slow down. Emphasize key words. Silence is powerful. Body language, stand tall, shoulders open, get your eye contact worked on and keep it steady. Energy, speak with enthusiasm. Passion is contagious, people. And listening, real influence starts with you listening. The more you listen, the more people want to listen back. I mentored a CEO preparing for a town hall for all of his organisation. They were very monotone. They were glued to notes. The staff were disengaged. When we worked on voice, his energy in the room and him becoming a storyteller, the transformation was dramatic. Same content, but delivered with presence. The difference between being heard and being followed. So 2 quick stories. First, a service leaver trying to convince an employer that their skills were relevant to the job that they were applying for. But they reframed their experience as leadership, as project management skills, as risk assessment skills. And then the employer leaned in and undoubtedly, unduly hired the individual. That was influenced through translation. He wasn't saying that I've led a team of 45 people to Afghanistan and we conquered X, Y, and Z. He talked about his experience of how he led a team, how he managed them through this, how he got their meal on time, how he got them fed, how he got the transport arranged, etc. That worked. Second, a friend of mine facing resistance on policy changes that they were trying to bring into an organisation that I won't speak about. But instead of bombarding people with rules and regulations, they told stories of real people. The policy would help. The vote passed in their meeting, and the influence there was through empathy. He empathized with people. He got them listening to him. He told that story that this would really help people. That resonates with people. So here's your mission this week. Identify one message you need to communicate. It could be at work, it could be in your team or in your personal life. Then apply the 5 principles. Make it clear. Show your credibility. Connect with your audience. Speak with conviction. And finish with a clear call to action for them. Even an added bonus of adding a story. Watch how people respond differently in your next meetings. That's it for today's CWC Age podcast. Influence and communication aren't about manipulation, remember. They're about clarity, connection, and conviction. And when you master them, your ideas, they don't just land. They move people to act. And that's the difference between being heard and being followed. If you want to sharpen your communication and influence skills, head over to cwcage.com where you may find some free resources and practical strategies and ways to connect with me directly. Whether you're leading a business, pitching as an SME, speaking for your local council, starting out as a graduate or transitioning into civilian life from the emergency or the Ministry of Defence, influence will give you that edge. Until next time, speak with clarity, lead with conviction, and come on, keep your edge. Thanks for listening to CWC Age Podcast. If today gave you something to think about, share it with your colleagues, share it with your friends, share it with your team, because growth is better when it's shared, people. For more insights, resources and blogs, head over to cwcage.com. Until next time, keep it simple, keep improving, and keep your edge.